but where possible, I avoid using the words like should and try, because should implies that there is some golden rule, some society standard that we have to meet, and it's outside of us, it's external, we haven't chosen that rule. So I should be married by a certain age, I should be earning this much money. And when we remove that word should, it gives you power and it gives you choice to live by your own rules.
Why glorify the finishing line when you can cherish your halfway mark? Hey everyone, welcome back to The Midwife. I'm Ashna Juneja and I'm in conversation with Hema Patel yet again. Our previous episode on the rapid transformational therapy received a beautiful feedback and an amazing response from you guys. So we're back again on another topic, but with the same enthusiasm and the same energy that Hema brings in every single time. We talk about the use of words and the importance of language in enhancing a better relationship with the people around you. And not to forget, the vibes play a major role. So please continue to watch this or listen to this, and I hope you like it as much as I like this women out here.
Absolutely, let's do this.
Let's do this again, if I should say it out. So definitely, Hema, one thing that I want to tell you, one second. Yeah. One thing that I want to tell you is that your episode has been it has had the largest number of listeners. And a lot of people have also personally requested for the second part, because I once put it out on my story that would you like a second part? And there were several of my, followers on Instagram who said that they really would like a second part. So how do you
That's
feel about that?
wonderful.
How do you feel about that?
Yeah, that's so wonderful. I'm so glad that we're doing this. This is it's just such a good connection that we have, and it kind of came out of nowhere, but I'm loving
and
it.
I would like to talk about that actually, because a friend of mine specifically, he also asked me how I got in touch with you, because you're from London, you're into this RTT world, and there is no connection as such, like a direct connection between the two of us, right? And just why don't you just tell everyone how we met?
So I think somehow we connected on LinkedIn, and one of your videos, a really motivational video, came up, and I was like, wow, great video. So I just messaged you one day and you said thanks, and that was fine. And then a few days later, I was in the shower, because I get all my best ideas in my inspiration shower, as I call it. I was like, I need to reach out to Ashna again. And I didn't know why, but I was like, okay, so she does podcasting. Maybe I'll ask her how she got into that, what it's all about. And so I messaged you and we set up a Zoom, and I was going to ask you about, how do you become a podcaster and all that good stuff. Before I even had a chance, you were like, can I book you in for September? Can I book in a date? And I was like, okay. I was like, suddenly I'm a guest on a podcast, and that was like never my intention, but I was like, yeah, let's just go with the flow.
Yeah, and see, God is here. I mean, I would like to tell this to everyone here that there was some vibe that I also caught hold from you, like a very good, positive vibe. And I mean, I speak to you, so I know that, but definitely, even in your voice, anyone who doesn't know you, they would understand what I'm talking about. Getting right into our conversation now, what do you think about the concept of vibe? Because considering you're into therapy, you're always dealing with your clients, uh, and you're always fixing their vibes, right? That's all it's about, right?
I think vibe and energy is so important. So maybe subconsciously, I saw that your podcast was called The Mid Vibe, and I was like, what's that? And I'm intrigued. I want to know more. But yeah, I think sort of vibe is so important because I did a talk last week on the power of intuition and how much that we have this intuition, we have this gut instinct, but we suppress it. We are so distracted by the noise around us, by the busyness of our lives, that this kind of radar, this mechanism, this natural mechanism that we have, we don't listen to it. And the way to tune into that is through quietening everything else that's around you. So I'm a huge advocate for meditation. And this is quite ironic because, like, up until recently, every time I tried meditation, I was like, am I doing this right? Is this how it's supposed to work? Like, how do I know? What are the signs that it's working? And it's only when I started receiving rapid transformational therapy whilst I was training to become a therapist that I understood the power of meditation. Because in rapid transformational therapy, we create an audio for our client, which is very much like guided meditation. And that you quieten your mind, you give yourself time out of your busy day, out of your schedule. And even though you're listening to words in a guided meditation, at the same time, ideas are popping and pinging. And so there's this kind of misconception that when you meditate, you must be completely silent, have no thoughts, remove all thoughts. And actually, it's about tapping into that peace to allow the creative thoughts to come, the inspirational thoughts to come. Because you'll have noticed yourself, especially working in corporate, you know, when you stand up and, you know, you're at a whiteboard or you're brainstorming together, sometimes it can be quite frustrating to come up with an idea. But as I said, you know, like when I have a shower in the morning and I'm not thinking about having an idea, is when I get the best ideas. And sometimes people get the best ideas, you know, just before they're about to go to bed or in the middle of the night. And you have to have like, a notebook beside you so you can like switch the light on, scribble it down, go back.
But you know, Hema, while you were telling me about that, you know, you need to sort of, you know, quieten yourself, be in that state, and then let your thoughts come in. I feel somewhere, even when we let our thoughts come in, we sort of also tend to talk in a negative way about ourselves with those thoughts, right? So, what do you have to say about that? What about like the language that I'm using for myself in those thoughts? That can be self-sabotaging I mean, to say the least.
Absolutely. There's 2 points I want to touch on here. The first is self-judgment, and the second is the actual words and the language. We as human beings, we're programmed to judge every situation, thing, and person because it is about, you know, am I safe in this situation? Is this situation good for me? So in an instant, in a flash of a second, we are judging everything. And we judge ourselves. And we are the harshest critic of ourselves. You know, if we say something that maybe we shouldn't have said, or the timing was off on something, or, you know, anything, we're like, oh, I should have done this better. I could have said this better. Why didn't I say that? And that judgment then leads to that overthinking, that self-doubt, that self-sabotage, because we're judging ourselves. And if we think for a moment that if we were to allow our thoughts to come and go as if they are thoughts on a train, and we just observe them, we watch them, rather than thinking, oh, every single thought, I have to grab it and I have to attach myself to it.
And analyze it.
Yes, yeah. We all have negative thoughts. Even the most positive person will have negative thoughts, but it's what we choose to do with it. Do we let it stay on the train and let it pass by, or do we engage with it? So the thoughts will be there, not engage with them, and don't judge them. like you said, that overanalyzing, where did that thought come from? Where did that doubt come from? It's come, let it go. And then the second thing I wanted to say, as well as self-judgment, is about the language that we use, especially when we talk to ourselves. Because quite often, the words we use when we talk to ourselves, we would never say to a friend.
Yeah.
We would never say to a family member. You know, you say, oh, I'm so rubbish at this, and I forgot this, and I can't do this, and I shouldn't have done that, and oh, if only I tried harder.
Yeah.
All these words, you wouldn't say to a child, or just try harder, don't do that, you know, you shouldn't do that. So if we wouldn't say that to a child or to our best friend, then we shouldn't say it to ourselves. You know, we need to avoid those words. And that kind of leads quite nicely on to sort of not just words, but clean language. And what I mean by that is when we have an affirmation, when we are thinking about ourselves or talking about ourselves, is that we use the positive words. I am, I can, I choose. I choose is so powerful because it reminds you that in every moment you have a choice in how you respond to a
Right.
situation. We can either react, which is reenacting a previous response,
Mm.
um, or we can respond, as in take a moment, think about the choice that we have in how we respond, rather than playing the same loop over and over again. Does that resonate?
Yeah. And two things that came to my mind. So the first thing is that somewhere we should be able to criticize ourselves, but again, the use of the language is important because I've met people who perform best when they criticize themselves. But that criticism should be in a clean language, like you said. So, one thing is, I want you to give me an example as to how people who like to critique themselves can do it in, say, like a better way so that it doesn't either even bring them down, but just like elevates them. And then the second thing that I was reminded of, I would want you to give me an example of that. We'll come to that. But the second thing that I got reminded of was when you said the positive affirmations, wherein you like, I'm happy, I'm abundant, I choose to be patient, I choose to be kind. I feel that is definitely out there and it should be practiced. But I heard this statement somewhere. I don't know where exactly, but it was like, try saying, may I be happy? May I be patient? So instead of I am, wherein the pressure is on you to be patient or happy at that very moment, like there is this burden to be happy at this point right now, today itself. Instead of that, you can just try, may I be happy? You're like allowing yourself to get into that zone. So yeah, I just got reminded of that.
May I? That is very interesting because may I also implies choice,
Yes.
but I'm going to be a little bit disruptive here. But where is the power in may I?
Mm,
Because may I is asking permission. And who are you asking permission?
yeah.
And quite often in life, we stumble, we hold back, we play small because we are subconsciously asking for permission, either from the outside world or
Mm,
from our inner self. Because quite often is we don't give ourselves the permission to explore the greatness and the fullness of our potential.
mm, mm.
So yeah, that's my controversial
No,
opinion on
but
May.
that makes sense, because I am is actually more powerful than may I. Like, may I gives you the space to sort of get into the zone, but I am is more powerful. Like, it's more strong. Yeah.
Yeah, and even if you don't feel it right now, the more you say it, the more you
Yeah.
become it. Or if it feels better, start with I choose. So I choose to
Exactly.
be, I choose to be. And so then you are building yourself up into it.
Hmm.
And the other point that you made, it reminds me of my sister and my 3.5-year-old niece. The half is important, but
Okay.
she has taught her daughter to use the word yet. So I don't know that yet. I can't do that
Oh,
yet. And so
nice.
again, she's allowing for the possibility that I can do that at some point. I just can't do it yet. And I think that's a really powerful word that us adults can use as well. And another example is more and more. So every day I am more and more mindful. Every day I am more and more compassionate, because again, that gives you that room to develop. So rather than focusing on the lack of what is not there, you're opening the door to the possibility of what could
More
be there.
and yeah, yeah, makes
And
sense.
that you give yourself permission. You don't wait for permission, you
You
give
give it.
yourself permission.
Very cool. Damn cool. Okay, the last time we had a talk on the RTT episode, we very briefly brushed aside the topic of NLP. And while I don't want you to get into the details of the NLP, can you just sort of touch upon it in a more refined manner? Because now that we're talking about language, I also feel that NLP and RTT is sort of like interlinked.
Mm.
So yeah.
And again, it comes to using the positive, powerful words. Um, so I am, I can, I choose. Because the way that NLP kind of works, I think I said, I can't remember the example I gave to you, whether it was a pink elephant or a chocolate bar, but if I
Pink
say to you,
elephant.
don't
Oh,
think of
one
a pink
second. Let
elephant
me
or a chocolate
let
bar.
me let me just give out the full form that NLP is neuro language program, neuro linguistic program, right? Yeah.
And so when I say to you, don't think of something, our minds, our brains, the neuro part automatically focuses on the thing as
Hmm.
opposed to the don't. And so that's why when we and I'm going to use children as an example as well, is when we say to a child, don't touch this or don't do this, their temptation is to touch it and do it and to carry on touching it and doing it.
Yeah.
And so if we want someone to do something differently, is we have to put the focus on what do we want them to do instead. So rather than saying, don't touch this, don't do this, would you like to eat this? Would you like to watch this? Would you like to read this? And then it takes the attention away from the thing to something else. It's giving the brain something else to choose, something else to focus on. And so that's why, I mean, I know I used it earlier in today's conversation, but where possible, I avoid using the words like should
Mm-hmm.
and try, because should implies that there is some golden rule, some society standard that we have to meet. And it's again, it's outside of us, it's external. We haven't chosen that rule. So, I should be married by a certain age, I should be
Yeah.
earning this much money. And when we remove that word should, it's again, it gives you power and it gives you choice to live by your own rules. And the other word is try, because try there's a lot of nuance to the word try, because try does mean sort of effort and persistence and
Mhm.
determination. But also, say if someone says to you, can you come out on Saturday night? And you say, oh, I'll try and make it out. In your mind, you know whether you're going to be there or not, but
Yeah.
you're actually just lying to yourself and lying to the other person by saying try. And
Mhm.
so instead of trying, just be honest. And I think um, in a world where we want things to be harmonious, we sometimes put too much effort on pleasing the other person.
Mm.
So by saying to your friend, "Oh, I'll try and make it on Saturday," you're
Mhm.
letting them down gently rather than saying, "Oh, I can't make Saturday because I've got another commitment," or 100% I'll be there. And so, yeah, it's we there's that whole kind of fine line between pleasing people, being a people pleaser, and being honest to yourself. Um, so yeah, I personally feel that try is an icky word.
Oh my God, I can't like emphasize enough on this, because I'm also like a true believer in just saying it out loud, whatever it is. And a lot of times I get this lashing from my parents and like from my friends that you shouldn't be so upfront. You should like mellow it down. I was like, why? Like, be authentic. That's the thing, right? So yeah, I think people need to be more honest about what they're feeling instead of like sugarcoating stuff or
It's really interesting because this whole last week I did a 5-day Facebook challenge
Mhm.
called Becoming a Fearless Action Taker.
Okay.
And one of the things that I was talking about was knowing your truth, speaking your truth, and standing in your truth. And what I mean by that is knowing your values, knowing what's important to you, knowing what your non negotiables are,
Hmm.
and then speaking it out loud, speaking it into the world, and then standing by it. So if there are causes and issues that matter to you, that you stand by them, you stick up for them, you speak out, you call things out. And it would be such an interesting world is that if everyone was authentic, if everyone was honest, and we weren't playing this little dance with each other of trying to keep people happy, but we were
Wow.
all honest, I think we would connect even deeper with each other because we would respect each other more, we would know each other's boundaries. And so much of what I find when I'm giving therapy is where people don't have healthy boundaries. They
Mhm.
don't feel empowered to say yes or affirm no to the things that they don't want. And I think when we know our values, then we can have really healthy boundaries, and that sets us up in life for any situation, work, personal relationships, families. Having healthy boundaries is so important, but the root of it is honesty and, yeah, feeling empowered that you can be honest.
Can you link setting your non negotiables with, say, reaching your highest potential, unleashing your highest potential?
Wow, that's a very powerful question. I might need to think about that one for a moment.
Sure.
I think the non-negotiables should be around how you behave and not the outcome. So it could be a non-negotiable could be I choose to let go of whether that project is successful or not, because I choose instead to enjoy the experience, to
Hmm.
learn from the experience, to improve from the experience and grow from the experience. Because I think if you set a non negotiable on the outcome or the result, it's almost like you are setting yourself up for failure.
Yeah.
So if we maybe the non negotiable is, I choose not to judge myself. I choose to go with the flow. I choose to embrace opportunities. I choose to be open to learning. I choose to be open to receiving advice and receiving coaching, because that will elevate you more than a particular target, because you're giving, like you said before, that space for
Yeah.
that growth to happen.
That's so true. I'm a huge believer of non negotiables. Like, I read this book, People Skills. I'm forgetting the author. It's a very old book. Like my uncle, who's almost 50, he gave me that book. It was his book. Uh, and I got introduced to the concept of non-negotiables from that book. And ever since then, I've had non-negotiables in every aspect of my life, be it my relationships, my family, my work, personally. So I feel anyone who wants to sort of grow in their life, one of the first few steps they need to take is to make a list of non-negotiables, that no matter what happens, this is a non-negotiable for you. So
Yeah.
yeah.
That's really interesting, because it's about how we interact with the world and other people around us. And we're all human, we all make mistakes. And so I prefer to allow people to make mistakes and give them the benefit of the doubt
Yeah.
once, possibly a second time, but the third
Mhm.
time, that's it. It's broken trust, it's broken those boundaries. And I think it's, like you said, it's about knowing what your non-negotiables are, so that when you're faced with a business situation, a personal relationship, that you can say, actually, I'm not available for that.
Yeah, exactly. So now that we're talking about relationships, I want you to uh, tell me more about using clean language and yeah, using clean language in our relationships, and how really being particular about this language can sort of help us become more better partners, friends, daughters, sons, whatever. Yeah.
And so much of it comes down to respect, treating other people how we would want to be treated. And it's so easy that in a situation where emotions spring up, that words come out and you think, oh, if only I could just reel that back in. But it's out there already. And so it's about having the power to say, give me a moment and let me respond to that in a mindful, authentic way that enables you to express your opinion without disrespecting the other person and putting them down. Because in relationships, there seems to be, the power struggle
Mm.
constantly, and push and pull. And actually, if we treated other people how we want to be treated, and we diffused the emotion or that moment of emotion. So even if it is just going to make a cup of tea or coffee, and coming back to the conversation when you feel centered,
Mm.
it's knowing that you are choosing your response. Um, there was something else that you said as well about the use of language, um, because that is, we have to think of what is the end game with our relationship with that person. Are we having this conversation to create connection,
Mm.
or to accelerate a disconnection? Because
Yeah.
if the end game is to connect, then we need to be respectful and mindful and honest, which again, I appreciate. That's like a trapeze walker walking the fine line. um, because yeah, you have to be honest, but being able to express your feelings in an assertive way rather than an aggressive way. Um, and thinking about the words that you use and the impact of those words.
How does RTT help in like enabling a meaningful and a beautiful relationship?
RTT is so powerful in enhancing that relationship to yourself, enhancing that connection to yourself, so that you know your truth, that you, I mean, one of the phrases I use a lot, we were talking about affirmations before. One of the phrases that I use in my therapy is, I love and accept myself. Because the more we love and accept ourselves, the more we see the divinity, the greatness and the fullness of ourselves, the more we see that in other people.
How can
And
you? Sorry, go on.
yeah, and I just wanted to add as well, one tip that I remember coming across a year or two ago is in a romantic relationship situation where it's so easy to have so much emotion involved. One tip that I came across was to write a list of all the things that you love about your partner, all their skills, qualities, attributes, their attitudes, everything that you like and love about them. And every week, look at that list. And because when you activate the best part of yourself,
Mm.
and you activate, and by reminding yourself of those qualities, you are activating the best in that other person.
Yeah.
When two people come together and they are both activated in their power and in their greatness, amazing things happen.
And like you said in the beginning, it's all about the vibe. If you're putting out like a good, strong, powerful vibe for your partner, you will get it reflected back to you. So, yeah, makes sense. So, with that, I would conclude our conversation. I'm not going to ask you the last question, which is what's your mid vibe, because we already have it. But in case you have a different vibe right now, I'm all game to know about it.
I think I'm going to just repeat what I said earlier is we underestimate the power of affirmations. We think, okay, let me write them in a book. Let me do that activity once. And we amplify the power of affirmations when we repeat them several times a day. And one of the most powerful ones is I love and accept myself. So wherever you are in your journey, take the judgment out of the equation
Yeah,
and love and accept yourself.
beautiful. And this reminds me one last thing that I would like to just point out before we end this conversation, considering it's already on such a good note. So I read this somewhere that everyone should create like a 2 minute pitch of themselves for themselves. So, like a 2 minute pitch, like you pitch your idea as a salesperson or as a marketing guy, how you would pitch your idea to your investors. How would you pitch yourself to yourself on the days you're feeling low?
Wow.
It's like
Wow.
sell yourself to yourself every time you feel low.
Mm.
Right?
I'm going to be really cheesy and I'm going to come back to, because I have 6 affirmations that I use every day when I'm brushing my teeth. So I have them on post-it notes on my bathroom mirror so that I can see them. But to be honest, I know them so well now that I have like a little song in my head for the 6. And my first one is, I am joy, I am happiness, I am love. And so wherever my head is at, whatever is going on in the world, that centers me completely. I am joy, I am happiness, I am love.
So, with that, everyone who's listening to this or watching this, make yourself a pitch, add your affirmations, and I mean, it sounds really easy and it sounds really floral at the outside, but once you get into the practice of it makes a huge difference. Because coming from me, honestly, I always felt affirmations were like, oh, what is affirmation? Like, okay, fine, I'm telling myself that, okay, I'm happy, but that doesn't make me happy. But if you're not doing it consistently, like you said, if you're not amplifying it every single day, you won't see the magic it can do to you and your life. So yeah.
And
Thank you so
consistency is key. We know that. Like,
much.
to get the results we want to get, it's about being consistent. We can't just show up once and expect miracles to happen. So yeah. Consistency is key. I'm so glad you mentioned that word. It's so powerful.
I hope you gathered some key takeaways from this conversation. If you did, don't forget to hit the subscribe button, give us a review, keep going, embrace your vibe. Until next time, thank you, take care.